Our next guest has visited us several times already. We're with Susan Strasberg and Big Don Mary.
That's right.
And I have come to some interesting conclusions.
What?
About him. He is funny, of course that. He is very funny. But I think he's very strange. His life is very strange. Please welcome George Miller.
All right, George Miller.
Oh, they caught me off guard. I was half asleep back there. I didn't know what I was doing. Oh, I'd like to start off with this is an old joke. I've never told this on the show before, and if you know any part of it, just feel free to join in. It's kind of like a sing-along, okay? This guy picked up really a dumb hitchhiker, and he said, before we go anyplace, there might be something wrong with my right rear blinker. Will you go back there and check it? And the guy went back there. He said, is it working? The real dumb hitchhiker said, yes, it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. One time I was on the show, and Dinah and I were talking about game shows, and I brought up the fact I like the game shows. They always tell a little bit about each person who's trying to win the money. Our next contestant, Mr. Larry Adams, he's a masochistic bigot. Larry enjoys chicken fried steak and being thrown to the ground by Filipinos. So since then, a friend of mine went on one of those game shows, and he was real nervous, and he smoked, they're talking about drugs, he smoked some real strong marijuana before the show. He thought it would help him to relax. Instead, it froze him up. It made him real paranoid. He didn't win anything. Nothing. They were going to give him the consolation prize, the luggage, if he could answer one of those real easy questions. They said, what is the opposite of white? Well, the guy was so screwed up, he said, yolk. That's all right. That was not correct. They give us back our luggage. They went to his house and took away his luggage. It was very embarrassing. I watched the game shows in the morning on TV. Then I watch late at night. You watch these, the public service announcements. They always assume the audience is real stupid. Are you fed up with crime? No, we want some more. You've been following the campaign. I watched Jimmy Carter at the press conference. Isn't he the most low-key, soft-spoken man you've ever seen? My goodness, it's like Pa Kettle on Valium. The guy is very, extremely, doesn't react to anything. And you watch him, right? And obviously, 3.5 years, the man has aged in his job. What if Reagan gets in? He looks like that now. He looks like that guy who ate Dan and yogurt, which pleased his mother very much. Oh, yogurt. Yeah, yogurt. Because I watch the cooking show. I know Dinah does some cooking on the show sometimes. We had Chinese food on the way over here today, and I like Chinese food, but what they say about it is true. You eat it, and an hour later, you're hungry again. And I also like Italian food. Does anybody like Italian food besides me? Yeah? Are you like me, though? You eat it, and 5 or 6 days later, you're hungry again. I mentioned Valium earlier. I was on the Valium diet for about 1.5 years, and well, a lot of people don't know that. If you take enough of it, it will help you lose weight. That's true. It doesn't really curb your appetite, but most of your food falls on the floor. Well, a lot of applause today, a lot of applause. And I watch the personalities on TV. I always watch Tom Snyder late at night. You ever get the feeling Tom Snyder might sometime use up the entire Tomorrow Show with one question? How do you feel about this particular group of people? Do you like them? Do you root for them? Have you known them a long time? Do they keep in touch? Do they call you? Do you call them? Do they like buttermilk? Do you like buttermilk? Do I like buttermilk? Oh, we're out of time. Oh, the darn time goes by so fast. Look, would you do me a favor? Would you do me a favor? Would you come back sometime and listen to me again? Would you? What is his problem? Oh, no. Thank you. He has on real interesting people, though. Other personalities like David Letterman, who's coming up real fast and has been on this show before. A little bit later today, David will be here. He's going to come on and rent out the space between his front teeth to a family of boat people. So, of interest to virtually no one, yeah. And one time, Tom Snyder had on a bunch of producers. It was real interesting because they were talking about typecasting, which still exists in Hollywood today, typecasting. Have you ever noticed Carl Malden always plays a guy with a big nose? And there's a guy he had on one night and has been on all the talk shows, Wayne Dyer. And Wayne Dyer says, do what you want to do, to heck with everybody else. And there's a lot of books out now that advocate that philosophy. Your erroneous zones, looking out for number one, how to be your own selfish pig. There's a whole bunch of these books. So I read one of those dumb books, right? And the one thing I remembered, they said, in an awkward or embarrassing situation, pay a compliment, you will lessen the tension. I remembered that. I'm talking to this guy. I didn't know him very well. His toupee blew onto the sidewalk. Really embarrassing. So I says, gee, I like your hair like that. It's really, And these books always say, cool it. Don't get into arguments. And back in Seattle, where I come from, there was a couple next door, the Drake family, and Mr. and Mrs. Drake were always arguing, and the argument was always the same. My parents are not crazy. Oh, no, they're not crazy. You don't think it's a little bit peculiar they named their two sons Liver and Bacon? Doesn't mean they're crazy. You're not facing facts, onions. Sometimes they would always come to blows, you know, or sometimes they would almost come to blows, not always, maybe once or twice. And I have never really had a fight since I've been a grown-up. And one night I was working at this nightclub. I didn't know what to do. There's a big guy at the bar, like 6'4", about 240 pounds, bad-mouthing everybody. I lost my temper momentarily, and I went up to the guy and I shoved him up against the bar. I said, I don't care how big you are. You ever say anything like that in here again, I'm going to bust you right in the mouth. I was really hot. I told him, I said, now you take your guide dog and get out of here. Really enjoyed talking to you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
George Miller, you lost a lot of weight. I mean, like everybody, Barry White, and you lost a whole Barry White, didn't you?
No. I lost about maybe 15 or 15 to 20.
Uh-huh.
And it was funny. Everything I read before I went on it was, you know, my own diet. I just cut down on a lot of junk foods. And everything I ever read, it said before you go on any kind of a diet, see your doctor first, which was real good advice. I saw him. He was so fat, I thought, I'm not that bad on. But I was talking about, you know, I'd never had a fight since I was a grown-up. And last time I was on the show, we were talking about physical fitness. And I told you that I am not and never have been a tough person. I was once beaten up by Marvin Hamlish. And I was thinking, since then, comedians from New York, they always talk about how tough everybody was. You know, the insults, everybody, you know, you ever do that again, I'll rip out your gizzard and fry it in front of you. So, you know, in Seattle, we were tough, but not that tough. It'd be more like, oh, yeah? Well, your mother sells Amway products.
Okay. Does she?
No, she doesn't really.
I'm going to introduce you to a lady I have known for a long time. Richard Dyer of the Boston Globe said that hers is one of the largest talents